have interviewed Mark, and I know Mark doesn't care if I use his stuff, so I want y'all to listen. These new red lights, do not look into them. I'm going to go back a little bit. He talks about the orange light is like 3 kelvins. The red light, he's talking about different spectrums. It is a non-ionizing, pulsing, yes, you heard me, pulsing light. You can't see, and if you stare at those lights, I swear to God Almighty, you are going to burn your you're going to have cataracts. You're going to lose your eyesight. You're being pulsed. We're being pulsed. Every time we go into public, we're being pulsed. Every time we live in our home with our dirty electricity, we're being pulsed. Listen to him.
Called Li-Fi. Depends on the control.
This is Li-Fi.
Depends on the mechanism to them. And I've seen some that have the capability, and I've seen others that don't. Now, let's just have a look at the...
So these are the new lights.
UL assessing, and probably one of the reasons why they didn't get UL to assess that particular piece of hardware. UL are basically standards agency, major player, by the way. And they talk about the photobiological hazards associated with exposure to light-emitting diodes.
Light diodes.
Increasing concerns about those radiation emissions, which cause these issues in eyesight. And as you know, lots of eyesight problems at the minute, isn't there? Yeah. I wonder where that could be coming from. Anybody want to answer any questions?
I wear laser glasses when I go in
public. Most LEDs were covered under the laser standard, and then there was pressure put to bear to bring it into the 62471 without much reason for that. You've got to remember, you've got a very intense light source. And like I said, UL very concerned about safety. Okay. Then we had your councils. Now let's just have a look at, this is why they employ very thick people in councils, okay? Very ignorant, normally arrogant, like the criminal I just spoke to with Newcastle Council, head of transport. Very ignorant chap. Very ignorant. He said he had an electronics degree, or how the equipment's CE certified or something, and it must be perfectly okay because it's just CE approved. Well, that's not the case, is it? So you see gated council who've never had a thought between their ears and all
Look
of
at this 2030 vision. You see that?
Decided to have a vision. And it was a 2030 vision. And it was about being carbon neutral by 2025.
Carbon
well, that
neutral.
plan didn't go very well, did it? In fact, it's all starting to fall to pieces, isn't it? As we see in Durham, Leicester, Nottingham, where this net zero narrative is now being labelled as a crime by councillors who are replacing these Labour, Liberal, Green, Conservative con men. So they are total controlled puppets.
Yeah, Freemason,
by their leaders,
occultists,
carbon neutral, etc. So you take the
Satanists.
familiar 2,000 Kelvin, and what you do is you increase it to 6,000 and 7,000 with a category. What they actually did, they replaced it with a category 2 optical radiation emitter.
7,000.
Really interesting to the whole thing. So I know who was the chair. The chair who was in charge of this, obviously very, very stupid person. A very stupid person. But what they actually did in this document was quite interesting. There was no issues around human resources, not that the fact that it'll kill you.
Yeah, to kill you.
No health implications. Now, how can you have no health
you
implications?
can sue these people.
Optical radiation, artificial light in particular, has always been known as a hazard. So how is there no health implications? Well, human rights implications. And you stare at
freaking cell phone screens and computer screens all day.
Isn't it? So this just shows you the type of ignorance we have at, and now the same, by the way, because what happens, that common purpose type, we just got to do as we're told. We're going to get a massive amount of money for making lots of cash. Now, as you saw on the front of that Philips unit, that phased array. Now, a phased array element...
This phased array antenna.
Phased array elements can be used for things like this.
And blue destroys your DNA. Blue light It's
laser
horrible.
diodes for indoor lighting and communication, what's called Li-Fi. Okay, now Li-Fi poses a interesting risk. One good thing about it, it doesn't travel through brickwork and concrete.
Oh, that's good.
Not like your
Like the other radar.
wireless, your Wi-Fi, etc.
Yeah.
Well, this stuff won't travel through. However, it's not what I would say is safe. Okay, definitely not.
Look at that.
Because you've got to go back to first principle. They don't even know what a photon is.
What's a photon?
You get it? There's arguments about what it potentially is, and I can tell you now,
Digital networks and
it's not what
sensing
the thing is.
technology.
Here we have an array, and as you can see on this array,
It has
you've
cameras
actually
and
got a
microphones in it,
controller. Now,
guys.
when you've got LED lights in your street, and they have any smart digital network and sensing technology, there's a high probability that this is phased array. Okay? Now, I've done lots of stuff on phased array in the past, and you will know that phased array is actually an electronic assault weapon. So,
And I have been assaulted through
diodes, your nice
the outside
street
lights, and I have video of it. Arcing
they're all
green.
soft kill at the minute, because that'll just increase cancer
Arcing
rates. And we know
green.
they do. Okay. Now, this is Osram's document. The phasing out of incandescent lamps in the EU. Yeah, they're mandating to remove safer artificial lighting for significantly more dangerous and currently not well understood technology from a biological threat. But I mean, they're
killing us, guys.
From a lighting, it's very well understood, but from a biological threat,
And you're
an
demanding
environmental
it.
threat, ecocide, democide threat, then it's not
Cancer.
very well known. Well,
Autoimmune.
unfortunately, it is.
Heart
But obviously,
palpitations.
they're going to keep that from the general public. Because see, I know that phased array is and always was an electronic assault
Yep.
apparatus.
Every time
So when
you
you see
stop in
those
front of a
arrays,
red light.
they can use them to assault you, and that's exactly what they are going to do. So you see, what they say is this
Every time
is
you
all
go under
about
an LED light.
phasing out of incandescence. But this document is for non-pulsed operation, and like I said, I want to see the outputs. What's this modulated frequency output? Because once I understand that, then I'll be able to tell you whether or not it's safe. Because pulse modulation poses a whole level of lethality to the emitter. Now, what we found in the goat's head was category risk group 2. Okay, so the moderate risk. Okay, that's why they say that. Now, how they come about, how the estate, it's a moderate risk, right? In this standard,
major risk.
is because you can't look at it. It's so dangerous. And then they've just put them in vehicles, you see. So the maximum exposure to a risk group 2, which are in the street lights in Goat's Head, by the council who said there was no health impact analysis, they said nil. A risk group 2 of the radium emitter, there's no hazard due to the fact that it's so dangerous you can't look at it, and the maximum exposure would be quarter of a second. And that's the street lighting they put in streetlights in Gateshead. And now we have, even though I got rid of the really naughty bit that was on the top, the legal high gain antenna, the dielectric lens, which could cause the weaponization of that particular piece of hardware, I got that removed. However, the lights are still brighter than they've ever been.
There you go. Check this out. There's
as
your
they
eyeball.
Penetrate your eyes and damage them.
Yeah, straight back to the optic nerve and the retina.
The people that you've got in these look. But it's all about net zero, you see. So what they want to do is they want to net zero and increase your environmental risk from artificial nighttime lighting. And it's widespread and increasing. So it's not as if they don't know, isn't it? Yeah, we've seen massive increases in cancers. Barcelona, there was a study, and it's all there. It's all in the published peer-reviewed science. So, I mean, what they've just injected you with, which will increase the toxicity of this, what I'm going to explain to people, if you've got a phased array unit, right, and it can start to stack what's called multi-photon ionization, and it can start to charge the air, you see. So you breathe the air, basically gas the air. So charge the air, make it noxious to breathe, and you got gassed and you end up with breathing difficulties. And that's what we've seen right away across London, haven't we? Yeah, we've seen massive 30% increase in breathing difficulties.
Breathing problems,
before we
yeah.
deployed the
I'm having
emission
breathing problems.
zone nonsense across London, the GLA went out to a large defence contractor and asked them to do an environmental impact analysis. And they did a fantastic job. They just forgot to take into consideration the infrared laser units and the radar, the multiple thousands, tens of thousands of facial recognition, biometric sensing, radar, mesoscopic type technologies.
Yeah, your biometrics radiate the hell out of you.
Bit.
But use your face to open your damn phone.
Absolutely bizarre. I mean, how could you miss that? So, infrared, we know that it causes, it's a hazard to the cataract. Lasers, absolutely 100%, would pose a massive risk to the eye. And that's why this heavily energized, look at the size of them cables. So this is the size of the cables taking the energy to
Holy crap.
laser diodes. Right, now that's called Osram Black. We're going to go back to
these are your lights, people,
and talk about these are pulse modulated lasers that could covered under the laser symbol. There's the laser symbol there, and they're covered under the laser standard. However,
this is illegal to
Transport
use.
for London have told me that these are they're definitely
military
class 1 LED. No danger to anybody.
Huh.
It is an absolute nonsense.
Yeah.
And not only that, they've repeated this nonsense.
He's MI6 ex-military, guys. Listen.
Perjury in a court hearing, right, where they have said, see that laser symbol? They have said, these cannot be lasers because they're CAE approved. This unit CAE approved. Well, I can see there it's got a laser symbol, and I also know exactly what that laser diode is. Okay. This is a Fabry-Perot structure. You've got D1, 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 so you've got 6 laser diodes in this array here. You've got 6 in this array here, and you've got 6 in this array here, and 6 in this array here. But let's get a little bit closer to the diode.
Oh,
so on close examination, here you see a number of wires. Now you see these little holes that go through. That's the coolest thing, because this thing's gonna run hot. Yeah. It's in a magnifying glass. That's it.
Oh my God, they're blinding us. Jeez.
D3 here. Okay, so that's a close-up of it. So that's your diode, your laser diode, I should say.
Lasers. They're shooting freaking lasers at us through our lights.
Covered in the laser standard. It's not, however, because Transport for London have told me that this is CAE approved and the court. It cannot be. It cannot be. That cannot be a laser detection range and weapon system.
It's a weapon system.
Because it's covered in the CAE standard. Now, I know that's nonsense. Anybody with a half a brain knows that's nonsense. And what's been going on lately, we've been getting trolled quite a bit. Not amazing. And I think they're a bit upset. I've upset a few people lately. Yeah, I've upset
yeah, Mark, you have.
Because
I got swatted.
They don't like it. You see, because what
I
they
interviewed
say is,
you and I got swatted.
He's just a conspiracy theorist. He just conspires and makes things up. It's all made up. And we have to tell everybody that these aren't lasers.
Like there's no lasers.
I mean, there was some idiot did a Substack, right? And he's supposed to know what he's talking about. Well, unfortunately, they're obviously working for the other side.
Yep.
Because the other side do not want you to know that this is a biometric, illegal weapon system called Neurostrike.
Neurostrike.
Right? If I was to tell you these are 2,200 milliwatts per steradian.
Jesus.
Each. And a class 4 laser, which is probably the most dangerous, what's the most dangerous, anything over 500 milliwatts. And these are 2,250 each, pulse modulated. And we've got the video footage of them pulse modulating, some nice heavy cabling and some lovely cooling So lots of wires around that unit just to make sure that when it gets hot, see, you have to dissipate the thermal runaway. Yeah, you have to get it dissipated through these what's called wires. Now, this is the product document, right, in relation to these Oslan Black. Okay. Now, what it basically says, right, is that LEDs are covered under 62471. Now, I know that was pressure that came from the industry because obviously all LEDs were covered under the laser standard due to the type of optical radiation emission, and that was dropped. However, the IEC 60825, anything that data transmits, is classed as lasers.
And these are electrical standards that IEC.
This is already data transmit. We know it is.
International Engineering.
Because the biometric sensors. These Oslan Black specifically are for monitoring the movement of the body.
Jesus. Okay? Retinal thermal. There it is.
Infrared pose a significant risk to the eyesight.
Wow.
Right? We know they have retinal thermal damage.
Wow.
We know that they will actually harm you, and that harm is currently ongoing. But what we'll also know is multi-photon ionization, which charges the air and makes it pretty noxious to breathe wherever you live. Ooh. So when you're traveling in London and you're having trouble with breathing difficulties, just remember what is the potential cause, or the main causal fact. I mean, that would really
He's the world expert, so ladies and gentlemen.
Share far and wide. Tell the trolls.
Microwave. MI6.
Sorry, but was yet to upset you. Definitely.
Thank you, Mark, for your work, buddy.
Kickback lately. They really are.
Warrior of God.
They are really upset about the lack of understanding about what is a photon.
Yeah.
But when you find out, that the European Union and others, dummies in your government, including these clowns, right, who just think that optical radiation, right, man-made, phased array optical radiation is perfectly safe, it doesn't pose a life-threatening risk to you, well, that just shows the type of dummies you're paying to run your local authorities.
Yeah,
and we need them out. We need them out.
Start going to your council meetings, people.
Right, so we can stop this net zero terrorism
agenda. Present
this
information.
God bless everybody.
We love you. Thank you, Mark.